morning, and we continue with our 3-minute daily dose of Torah. I want to pose the question of where did Avraham come from? Where did Avraham come from? Which is probably a vague question. Better question to ask, what was Avraham's original home? And here, you might be surprised to know that there's a significant disagreement between the Ibn Ezra and the Ramban. The Ibn Ezra's opinion is that Avraham was born and raised in Ur Kasdim, Ur of the Chaldees, which is in Mesopotamia in Iraq, and that is his birthplace and his home. So he has to read the opening verse in our parsha. Lecha me artzacha me ladecha me beit avicha el artz asher areka. Which says, leave your land and your birthplace and your father's home to go to the land which to go to the land which I will show you. In context of the earlier psukim in Noach, which tell us that his father Terach took them all, Avram and Sarai and others, right? Vayitzu tami Ur Kasdim, they left Ur Kasdim, Lech artza Canaan, which was something actually we're already intended to go towards Canaan, which is already a strange part of our discussion here. And they arrived and they got to Haran. So for the Ibn Ezra, the verse basically means that Avram had already begun the process of leaving his father's home earlier. Hashem tziva Avram fe'odenu bo'ur kasdim she'azov artzo makom l'nato gam beit aviv. So God had already asked him earlier on, when they were in Ur Kasdim, to leave, and that is because Hashem knew exactly what the plans were, what his father would want to do, etc., etc. And so that's how he works it all out. That Avram lived in Ur Kasdim. God began the conversation earlier, and then continues it. It seems. The Ramban says no, it's not what it means. Ur Kasdim. Ramban actually sets up the following scenario. He presumes that Avram had always lived in Haran. Was born in Haran. That was his birthplace, which is, again, Haran will be the headwaters of the Euphrates River. That would help us out here, okay? And then the family moved from Haran down to Ur Kasdim, and they lived there for a while. And then the family moved back up to Haran. Terach brought them back up to Haran. And now when God says, leave leave your land, your birthplace, and your father's home, it makes sense, because they had all returned to the ancestral home of Haran. Not Ur Kasdim, wasn't their ancestral home. And that's where God says, get moving on from there. And the Ramban says that's how you explain, the storyline that follows, where Eliezer is sent back to Avram's family, and seemingly to his birthplace, and they sent back to Haran. He's not sent back to Ur Kasdim. He doesn't send him to Iraq. He sends him to Syria, because that was really Avram's birthplace. He had to spend a long time and lived in the Ur of the Chaldees until he ran into trouble with Nimrod and other versions of it. But his real home, his place of birth, and the place which he had returned to, was Haran. And so therefore later on, Eliezer sent back to the rest of the family who have lived there as well. Just an interesting way to challenge in reading Psukim that ultimately bring us to interesting questions about the origins of our great ancestor, Avram. Have a great day.